The cold fluorescent lights of the supermarket flickered above as Emily clutched her daughter's tiny hand, her other arm balancing a small basket of essentials, bread, milk, bananas, and 2 little cupcakes she had promised for a special treat. It wasn't much, but to Emily it felt like hope wrapped in paper bags. Life hadn't been kind to her. Raising a child alone after her husband's sudden passing had left her with more bills than blessings, and every trip to the store felt like a gamble against the shrinking numbers in her worn-out debit card. As she stood at the checkout, her daughter Lily's innocent eyes sparkled at the cupcakes, unaware of the storm gathering in her mother's heart. The cashier scanned the items, the total flashing brightly on the screen, and Emily hesitated before swiping her card, silently praying it would go through this time. But the loud, sharp beep of rejection sliced through the quiet air, each sound a reminder of her struggle. Behind her, impatient customers shuffled, sighing at the delay, while Emily's cheeks burned with shame. She fumbled in her wallet, counting crumpled bills and loose coins, realizing she could barely cover the bread and milk, let alone the treat she had promised her child. She whispered to Lily, "Maybe next time, sweetheart," trying to mask her breaking voice with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The cashier, unmoved, set the cupcakes aside, and Emily's heart sank lower than the bottom of her purse. Just as she gathered her courage to leave with only half her groceries, a calm yet commanding voice broke through the tension. "Excuse me, let me take care of that." Emily froze, startled by the sudden interruption. She turned and saw a tall man in an immaculate suit, his dark coat draped neatly over broad shoulders, a silk scarf falling gracefully around his neck. He looked completely out of place among the fluorescent aisles and crowded carts, yet his presence was undeniable. Calm, composed, almost magnetic. In his hands, he held nothing but a small carton of eggs, yet when he stepped closer, it was as if the room itself paused. The murmurs of impatience from the line behind them hushed, curiosity replacing irritation. Emily's instinct was to refuse. Pride had been her last shield in a life that had stripped so much away. "That's very kind, sir, but I can't accept," she began, her voice trembling between gratitude and resistance. But the man smiled, warm yet steady, the sort of smile that carried no judgment, only reassurance. "Please," he said gently, "it's not about what you can or can't accept. It's about what we can share." His words, simple but profound, settled into Emily's heart like sunlight through a storm. Before she could protest again, he handed his card to the cashier, motioning for all of Emily's groceries to be included with his. The cashier, wide-eyed, complied, scanning the items once more. Emily's daughter Lily clapped her little hands, beaming with innocent delight, not fully understanding but sensing something beautiful unfolding. Emily, overwhelmed, felt tears sting her eyes, not just from relief but from the dignity in the way he offered help, quiet, respectful, without making her feel small. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. And in that moment, she realized this stranger wasn't merely paying for groceries, he was giving her something far greater. Hope.as the cashier bagged the groceries. Emily searched for the right words, but they seemed to scatter like leaves in the wind. Gratitude felt too small for what was happening, and apology felt too heavy. The man's gesture had turned what could have been another humiliating day into something she would never forget. She finally managed, "You didn't have to do this," her voice breaking as she tried to steady it. The man crouched down to Lily's level, his expensive suit creasing without concern, and handed her one of the cupcakes the cashier had nearly taken away. "A promise kept," he said softly, smiling at the little girl whose eyes lit up as though she had been given the world. Emily's heart swelled at his kindness, not just because of the groceries but because he saw Lily, too. He saw her dreams, her innocence, her small joys. Standing again, he looked at Emily and said, "I grew up with less than this. There were times my own mother had to walk away from checkout lines, too. Someone once helped us, and I never forgot it." Emily's breath caught. She hadn't expected a man who appeared so polished, so powerful, to share a story that mirrored her own struggles. In that moment, the distance between their worlds vanished, replaced by a shared thread of humanity. The cashier, visibly moved, handed the bags over with unusual gentleness, while the line of customers behind them softened into silence, humbled witnesses to a rare act of grace. Emily realized then that what she had thought was an accident of fate, her card failing, her shame laid bare, was perhaps something else entirely, the universe aligning to remind her that compassion still existed, and that dignity could be restored with a single act of kindness. The three of them walked slowly toward the store's exit, Emily carrying the bags while Lily happily clutched her cupcake, swinging her little legs with every step. The man stayed beside them, not rushing, as though he understood the weight of the moment deserved time. Outside, the evening air was crisp, and the parking lot glowed under tall lamps, each light casting long shadows across the pavement. Emily turned to him once more, determined to at least learn the name of the person who had changed her night, and perhaps her life. "I don't know how to thank you," she said quietly. "At least tell me who you are." The man hesitated, then extended his hand with a humble nod. "Daniel," he said, "just Daniel." She noticed the subtle watch on his wrist, the sleek car parked nearby, the unmistakable signs of wealth. Yet none of it seemed to define him in this moment. What defined him was the sincerity in his eyes. Emily shook his hand, her own trembling, not from cold but from the enormity of what she felt. He added softly, "Sometimes, a little help at the right time can change the course of a whole journey. Don't ever think you're alone." For Emily, those words pierced deeper than the act itself. For so long she had carried her burdens in silence, believing that strength meant never stumbling, never asking. Now, here was a stranger reminding her that strength also meant receiving, and that even in broken moments, connection could bring healing. Lily tugged her sleeve, whispering, "Mommy, he's like a hero." Emily's eyes welled with tears as she nodded, realizing her daughter was right, not because he was rich, not because he was powerful, but because he chose kindness when he could have chosen indifference. Emily and Lily reached their car, the groceries carefully placed inside, yet her heart felt heavier with emotion than her arms ever could. Daniel lingered a moment longer, his presence calm, almost protective, as if he knew walking away too quickly might shatter the fragile strength she was trying to hold together. "Why me?" Emily finally asked, the question slipping out before she could stop herself. Daniel smiled faintly, his gaze distant, as though remembering something long buried. "Because once, my mother stood exactly where you stood today. She was young, scared, and had nothing but me clinging to her side. A stranger stepped in for her, just as I did for you. That kindness gave her courage to keep going, and it gave me the belief that the world still had good people in it. I wouldn't be who I am without that moment." His voice cracked slightly, and Emily realized that beneath the polished exterior of a successful man was still the little boy who had once known hunger and shame. Her chest tightened as she saw the humanity in him, not a millionaire CEO, not a powerful figure, but a son shaped by love, loss, and generosity. "So you see," Daniel continued softly, "helping you today isn't charity. It's gratitude repaid." Emily's eyes blurred with tears, her hand clutching Lily's shoulder as if grounding herself in the truth she had just heard. For the first time in years, she felt her struggles weren't a mark of failure but part of a shared story stretching across lives and generations. Daniel's act wasn't a rescue, it was a reminder that even in the harshest winters, the seeds of kindness planted long ago could still bloom. The night sky stretched wide above them, stars beginning to pierce the fading blue as Emily buckled Lily into her seat. She turned back to Daniel, her voice steadier now, though still tinged with awe. "You'll never know what this means to us," she whispered. Daniel shook his head gently, replying, "Maybe not, but someday, you'll understand what it means to someone else, when it's your turn." His words lingered in the air like a promise, one that wrapped around Emily's heart and eased the weight she carried. He offered a small wave, then walked toward his car, disappearing into the night as quietly as he had arrived, leaving behind not just groceries but a story that Emily and Lily would carry forever. Driving home, Emily glanced at Lily in the rearview mirror, the little girl still holding her cupcake like a treasure, her smile glowing brighter than the streetlights passing by. For the first time in what felt like forever, Emily allowed herself to breathe deeply, not in fear of what tomorrow might bring, but in hope of what tomorrow could hold. She realized life's beauty was not only in grand victories but in the unexpected kindness of strangers who remind us we are never truly alone. And as Lily drifted off to sleep, murmuring, "He was our hero," Emily whispered back, "Yes, sweetheart. And one day, we'll be heroes for someone too." In that queue.